So now I'd like to move to the next item is the event initial report regarding an incident on April 19 at the Chalk River Laboratories, and as outlined in CMD 16M27 and 16M27A. I understand that we'll have a representative from CNL, and I understand it's going to be Mr. Pilkington. Mr. Pilkington, can you hear us?
Yes, it's Bill Pilkington for the record, and I'm on the line with Dave Cox, our General Manager for the National Research Universal Reactor, and also with Mr. Sean Cottenham, our Chief Regulatory Officer.
Thank you.
So we're here this morning to answer any questions that Commission members might have.
Thank you. Ms. Tadros, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, Heidi Tadros speaking. For this item, I'm joined by my colleague, Mr. Jean Leclerc. He is the Director of the Nuclear Laboratories and Research Reactors Division. Again, beyond what you have in front of you in the event initial report, staff are available to take any questions or comments on this EIR and on the supplementary information that was provided.
Thank you. So let's jump right into it. Let me see. Oh, sorry. Did CNL want to say anything before we get into the question session?
Bill Pilkington for the record, and no, Dr. Binder will respond to any questions the Commission members might have.
Okay, thank you. Monsieur Tolgiesi.
Merci, Monsieur President. My understanding is that this grapple is located underwater and that the basket did not fully latch into a flask. It is because of positioning of the basket and or flask, or it because of grapple positioning, which is probably could be operator's error.
Jean Leclerc for the record. CNL's conducted an investigation of the event, and there's a number of possible causes with regards to the grapple releasing the basket. But so just to go over the incident again, the grapple grasped the basket, and while raising the basket into the flask, the basket then dropped. All this happened underwater, which is obviously done to ensure protection from a radiation protection point of view, environmental point of view, so there can't be any releases to the environment, and the radiation doses are going to be very, very low. So in this situation, CNL actually did an investigation, and the corrective actions they're undertaking, in fact, are to account for the various possibilities to ensure that the incident can't occur, including the use of a camera to verify that, in fact, the grappling of the basket, the positioning is correct, independent verification by the employee as well, review of the procedures that were being done to ensure that when going forward as they do it again, that they can ensure that the basket is properly engaged before bringing it forward. Perhaps CNL would like to add further to it. I should add that CNSC staff did the next day went in, investigated, reviewed, and ensured that the basket, that there was no damage, that things were stable. And I myself personally actually went to the rod base last week and got to see where the incident occurred and verified, and CNL went through and explained to me the corrective measures they've put in place, and I think they've done a fairly thorough investigation. We've got a detailed event report that we've reviewed, and we're satisfied with the measures they've taken.
My last one is that, considering that it's underwater, how you do, probably it's maybe for Chalk River, how you do maintenance and verification that these latches and mechanical part is fully operational and they work? Could you check that, and how you do that?
So it's Bill Pilkington for the record, and yes, we do have checks in place, and I would ask Mr. Dave Cox to elaborate on that.
Dave Cox, for the record, General Manager of the NRU reactor. Yes, the grapple mechanism, it's an integral part of the flask itself. When it latches onto the basket, it is underwater. But we do maintenance and functional testing on the grapple and other components of the flask when it's removed from the water, and so that's performed in a dry environment where workers can access all of the components and confirm their functionality.
Go ahead.
Perhaps just to add to perhaps help the commission a bit further. So the flask itself comes and is brought into the rod bays, in which the grappling hook is part of the flask. So it comes from the outside, then is brought into the bay, lowered into the bay. The grapple comes in. So the actual work on the flask and the grappling hook, obviously outside of the rod bays. And I think that perhaps is why they can do all the checks, all the verifications, and all the maintenance can be done outside of the rod bay, because it's actually not an actual integral part of the bay itself.
To staff, you know, a picture is worth 1,000. I don't know what a grapple looks like if it came right in front of me in this room. And it would be nice if wherever you have photos, if they're available, or diagrams to explain to us, even for the previous incident, what's the tank when the scaffolding worked. I have a vivid imagination, but I can get it completely wrong unless somebody gives us some schematics.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. McEwen.
Thank you. So this is presumably a procedure that's taken place thousands of times over the years.
This is a routine procedure with regards to moving fuel. It should be noted that in this particular case, though, it's the part of the repatriation program that's currently underway. Perhaps CNL can elaborate further.
It's Bill Pilkington for the record, and so this is an operation that has been performed a number of times, but it is not, I wouldn't say many times. So I'd ask Mr. Cox to elaborate on that.
Cox for the record. This incident occurred, this basket dropped on the 5th operation. We completed it 4 times previously successfully, and it was on the 5th occurrence that this event happened. So it's we expect to be completing this roughly on a monthly basis going forward to give you a feel for the frequency of the activity.
So these would have been new procedures that have been put in place to do this specific activity.
Dave Cox for the record. Yes, there was a new procedure developed last year, and there were 4 successful applications of the procedure in 2015. This was the first occurrence of the procedure this year. And it is a special procedure specifically for this unique equipment and this operation. Part of our corrective actions driven through the investigation were to, as Mr. Leclerc said, to improve the procedure and provide positive verification that the basket is latched on all 4 fingers, and to record that with an underwater video record, and to ensure supervisory review of that prior to commencing the basket lift.
So as you developed the procedure, had you identified the possibility that the grapple would not be fully attached? Because it seems a fairly obvious potential risk as you build the process.
Dave Cox for the record. Yes, that was part of the design review on this equipment. Before we developed the procedures, there was guidance from a human factors evaluation which indicated that it was not possible to incompletely latch the grapple onto the basket, and so that flavored the the steps in the procedure that existed prior to this event. Part of the investigation uncovered this weakness, and so the improvements that have been made to the procedure and additional testing have confirmed that we've got steps in place to ensure that the grapple is positively latched on all 4 fingers prior to lift.
Thank you. Monsieur Harvey?
You mentioned that this new procedure has been there for a few years, but the NRUs have been operated for many years. So was there a need to change the procedure? What was the objective to change it?
Dave Cox for the record. Indeed, NRU has been operating for many years, nearly 6 decades, but this activity of repatriating fuel to the United States is part of an international program that just commenced last year. And so this operation is a new activity that supports this fuel repatriation project.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Velshi?
Thank you. Question for staff. Are there any OPEX implications of this, say for NPPs who do use fuel maneuvering in the fuel bay, and do they use underwater cameras?
Good morning, Peter Elder for the record. Yes, there is a use of underwater cameras in terms of fuel bays, which are common in everyone. What is unique on this one is that this is placing into a particular flask. So there's a transport flask, so this is how you get the particular fuel into a very specific flask that is for shipping to the United States. So while we would look at it in terms of, we would expect CNL to look at the event and see if there is OPEX that they can share with the wider industry. And to my knowledge, CNL is part of the team that does share OPEX with the CANDU operators.
Thank you. CNL, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, it's Bill Pilkington for the record. And as a part of the investigation into this event, we had the manufacturer of the equipment involved in the investigation, and so they were aware of everything that occurred. And also, this equipment is relatively unique. It is used, however, at the Savannah River site in the U.S., and we did specifically inform them of the event. They suspended operations until we completed our investigation, and we informed them of the outcome.
Thank you. Next question, and this is to CNL. I know in this particular case there was no damage to the fuel bundles, but was there a potential for fuel damage if the fall had been higher or a different angle or in different circumstances?
It's Bill Pilkington for the record, and I would suggest that the potential is low because the basket is being drawn into the transport cask, and at the point that it is fully in the cask, the assembly is still, or at least the only exit for the fuel is still underwater, and the base of the cask is closed for shipping. So the event that we had was likely the only type of event that could occur during this operation.
Thank you.
Okay, any further question? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.